Welcome back to Steel City Drones. I'm Dave King. Today, we're talking about live streaming options for drones. In the past, I've always kind of been hesitant to want to put a video together like this because I've always kind of felt the industry is kind of stuck between two tiers. The top tier is the really good equipment that does the job really good. Sort of like what TV stations use. Low latency, but yet very good quality, but also, on the other hand, very expensive. So up until recently, I feel that the price point for a lot of these services has been cost prohibited for a lot of our customers and clients out there looking for something. But then we also have the lower tier, which are free options like YouTube and Facebook or other type of very lower expensive options that just don't cut it as far as the amount of latency, quality of the video, and no security. So now I think that we got the best of both worlds for an option that, and I want to take the two most popular types of options that I feel that are good that we can recommend to everybody that's watching this video. Now, Flight Hub 2 is not new. It came out, it was originally introduced when the Matrice 30 and 30T were first released, and it's been in a beta version for a bit of time. Now, they've taken everything as far as all that feedback out of the beta version and put it into a production release. DroneSense has been around for a long time, and they kind of very slowly refined their end product to provide very good functionality, very low latency, and just a very good product. Now, Flight Hub 2 is available for the latest DJI Enterprise drones, such as Mavic 3 Enterprise, Matrice 30 and 30T, the Matrice 300 and 350, and the DJI Dock. And we're going to be able to use Flight Hub 2 on a regular computer as well as a mobile device. Now, let's talk about the live operations features and functionality. We obviously have live streaming, but we can actually see flight telemetry. We have annotation that we're going to be able to sync between Flight Hub 2 Cloud and to the actual devices themselves. We can also take the media that's stored inside Pilot 2 and push it to the Flight Hub 2 Cloud. And then we also have geotasking features and functionality. We can go ahead and set up a fence where the drone cannot fly out of that area. And then we can also set up a traditional no-fly zone where the drone is not going to be able to fly into that area. Some of the basic features of Flight Hub 2 is the ability to create 2D and 3D mapping missions inside Flight Hub 2 and then push that to the aircraft. So you no longer have to just use your controller or create a KML file on a computer and push that to a KML file. You can now go ahead and create the mission inside of Flight Hub and push that to the actual aircraft. We can also take a traditional 2D and 3D mapping mission and import that into Flight Hub 2. We can also do a live mapping mission with a drone that's connected to Flight Hub 2, and that data automatically gets updated in real time to the satellite imagery in Flight Hub. So if you have a location that the satellite imagery is outdated, you'll be able to get real-time updated imagery very fast, which is great for public safety. Now, the dock applications are going to have total functionality and control. We're going to be able to go ahead and control the drone to take off and land and do 2D and 3D mapping missions, all contained inside the dock. So we have full control over that. So for our flight demo, we're here in our conference room, and I brought in one of our exceptional flight instructors. Are going to be really hard pressed to find a better drone instructor than Lieutenant Randy McAllister, who has over 27 years of public safety service and also has a lot of experience with SWAT and tactical training. He does a lot of our public safety training as well as tactical training for our company. So Thank you for coming, Randy.
Appreciate it. If we approach this from a public safety standpoint, we'll just say that this building right here is actually going to be the location where we have a potential hostage situation for purposes of the exercise here. We'll just say that we have witnesses that saw a disgruntled employee that was recently fired entered the building with a firearm and has taken the manager into the back office. So one of the things that we would want to do from a public safety standpoint is obviously we need to secure this location the best we can with our inner and outer perimeters. One of the things that I would like to have is an overall view, including the roadways, and also taking a look at the parking lot to see real time how many vehicles are in the parking lot, do we have an evacuation that's going on, and actually where I need to place my people that are handling the inner and outer perimeters. So I would like to direct the drone operator who's on scene right now to give me a real-time video of this area so I can see what the parking lot looks like and also see what the traffic flow is on the nearby roadways. One of the concerns that we have is the ingress and egress of traffic flow. So now you can see that our drone operator is going up the building there.
And the drone operator is using a hotspot off his phone. He's not connected to a router such as a cradle point. So we want to demonstrate what most drone pilots in the field are going to use.
So based on the video that I'm seeing now, I have a roadway that's relatively clear for egress and ingress of vehicles, emergency vehicles that are showing up. We also have a roadway in the back. So if I could get the drone pilot to fly directly over top of the building and give me a straight down view of the area surrounding that, I want to start establishing perimeter locations to get this area locked down so we don't have other people coming into the danger area, and then it'll also aid with evacuation. At the same time, while he's doing this, I'm scanning the rooftop to see if there's any access points that we may need to utilize later if this does turn into a hostage situation and a potential rescue mission. That may be one of the things that I would want to consider. If he could actually just use the camera, start looking around on the different corners of the building so I could see the roadways, and then I could start placing pinpoints on the actual map where I want to have our perimeter. So initially I may only have 2 responding officers, so I'm going to want to set them up on opposite corners. So I probably put one here on McKinney Lane that's watching this area that can get a view of both ways, and then the other one I'd probably set over here for the initial, pretty much where the drone is right now, but I would drop a point right there. And I would start off with the 2 perimeter locations that way, and as I get more assets coming into the area, then we would backfill into that to make sure that we have a tight perimeter. One of the other things initially that I want to see is, because I'm going to have multiple assets that are coming to this location, including fire and EMS, along with other law enforcement, I want to start looking at these other parking lots over this way. So I'm looking for an area that is relatively wide open, not a lot of cars, traffic, whatever, because we're going to have to get a lot of equipment in there. But I want to have staging areas set up so that I can pull resources as needed that are close by to the location but out of harm's way. So probably the area of this parking lot over here would be a good staging location, and also this front parking lot. So these 2 I would set up as staging locations or potential staging locations. So we can put this one and we can mark this as a law enforcement staging area. And the one over here we can mark as our fire and EMS staging.
And then we can change the colors of the annotations as well.
Yeah, and the nice thing about this is real-time view, so I can see that these parking lots that we just marked off with the annotations for our staging areas are relatively clear of any vehicular traffic or pedestrian traffic, which is perfect. And they're large enough areas that we can get multiple trucks and other assets in there. So beyond that, one of the other considerations that we have is obviously staging area for media. Media shows up, so we'd want to get something that's a little bit further away from the scene so we know that they're in a safe location. And I would probably look at an area over here just off at the intersection of those two roads. That way they're not blocking our emergency equipment coming in and out of that area with their trucks and equipment. So I would set this up as a potential staging area for our media.
So let's say we're adding in 2, 3, 4 pilots, but we don't want them to go outside of the boundaries that you're going to set. So we can go ahead and set up a fence and also no-fly zones in here as well. And I'll demonstrate how that works. So what we're going to do is we're going to click over here and go into our task area management. And then we're going to go over to here and create a fence. So let's say, for example, this is the area that, well, since he is flying right now, I'll just set this outside of here just to demonstrate it. So that way we're not going to cut off our pilot because he's out of the area right now. So this area right now means that the drone cannot go outside of that boundary. So let's say if they were inside the boundary, that would not allow them to fly outside the boundary, and it's completely customizable how we want that. So let's say we want a no-fly area over this area right now. Now, no drone will be allowed to go into that area. Now again, I'm talking about only the drones that are in the pilot in the project. So the way, again, this is organized is that we're an organization and then we're creating a project. And then from the inside the project, we can go ahead and have users and specific pilots and accounts that's going to be allowed to go into the project. Not just anyone's going to be in there. So when we create these zones and fences, it's only going to be for the drones that are inside the project.
So one of the nice things from a law enforcement perspective with the no-fly zone for the drones in the project is oftentimes, especially in a hostage situation or maybe a barricade, where the subject may be able to see the drone, oftentimes that gets them a little bit amped up, and then it creates some problems for negotiators. So if we have an idea of maybe where the suspect is located inside the building or the structure, and they may have a visual outdoors, we want to try to eliminate them being able to identify that there's a drone in the air. And that would be helpful in that situation, because then the pilots don't necessarily need to worry about, or we don't have to communicate directly to the pilots on what area to avoid. We can actually simply do it this way.
And while you're talking about that, our drone pilot is actually creating a 3D panoramic, which is a very cool thing I'm going to show you in a second. We're going to go ahead and show you how we actually use this. So I'm going to click on it right here on the map.
As the incident is evolving, oftentimes you may have to go back and take a look at something again, or if you're trying to explain or put people in place, this could be a helpful tool in doing so, because then you're not actually having to have the pilot refly that route. So it kind of memorializes the situation as is. The other nice thing about this is afterwards, being able to reconstruct this scene as you found it while it was happening in real time for court purposes, reconstruction purposes, plotting different points of evidence or where people were, your different assets that were in. If you had to establish a casualty collection point for your EMS, exactly where that was located. So this would be helpful, especially post-incident with court, and also for training purposes. Oftentimes we do a lot of things with our team, but a lot of times we will video our trainings just for learning points and to improve things. But this would be a helpful tool in that, because you actually get a nice 360 view and can take a look at different things that maybe you don't actually get on an actual video.
Now we're going to go over to the second location at the local park, and you're going to see at the bottom of the screen the live feed from this location. The first pilot is also still in the air, as we want to show you 2 different live feeds simultaneously at different locations. So to show you that there's no bandwidth or video transmission issues. Chris, if you could go ahead and start panning your camera to the left. Okay, you can stop right there. Now, what we did already in advance is to show you another really cool feature that we have here, where we could go ahead and do a live map update to actually get real-time data of an update on the map. So right now on this map that you're seeing, this is an older picture taken a couple years ago, and I thought this would be a really good representation of an example to show you how this has already changed since then. How Chris has gone ahead and mapped the situation where we actually went and mapped this entire grid, and you'll see as it's actually flying, it's updating the pictures in real time for you. We created this area route right now, and now I'm going to toggle it on, and now you can see the updated map. So I'm going to get it as large as I possibly can, and you'll see the resolution of this map is very, very good. So I'm going to toggle this back and forth on and off, and you can see the differences. So by the pool area, now there's a lot of construction going on where they're actually adding a splash park and all of the infrastructure regarding that. And you can just see the resolution on the older map is very pixelated, and the new one is very high resolution. We can import a very high resolution TIFF to even get the highest level of sampling, which is what I did right here. There was very little lag time at all. I can't even remember that there was any, but this could also be used in that first situation where we could actually map out and give you a true up-to-date map if that terrain and geographical information was different.
Sure. And that's most helpful, again, because conditions change. These, maps could be several years old that are available online. There could be additional structures or things that we wouldn't normally see just looking at a regular map that's available online. Having the live map, you know exactly what you're dealing with in that particular situation. And it doesn't take very long to do.
So now let's go back into, we'll bring our operators back in. Again, we can make these full screen if we want to. Now, again, the quality of what you're seeing is actually on auto. So the resolution is set to auto based upon the bandwidth that you're seeing. Again, we're only on hotspots on the phone, so we're wanting to keep it as low as possible. If we did actually have a really good internet connection, we could go to high def and we could actually see a higher resolution feed that we're seeing right now. But actually, again, I'm just going to go ahead and keep these playing for you so that, again, that you can evaluate the quality of what you're seeing on the screen. And I'm going to try to get both of these feeds as large as I can. Both drone operators are on hotspots. You're going to see no lag whatsoever.
This obviously is a very nice feature, especially not having any type of latency, where from a command post standpoint, you can see exactly what's going on without sending a runner back and forth or actually having to stand with the pilot and seeing what's on the screen or another screen that's located close by. Obviously, we're at a remote location from where both pilots are now, and this is just great that there's no latency at all with this.
I think this has been a very successful demo, so thanks again for your time, Randy.
Absolutely.
And now let's go back to the next part. So with the Flight Hub 2, you can do a monthly or yearly subscription plan. The price is $99 a month. You could do it month to month, or it's $999 for 1 year. There is a standard version and a pro version. And on the screen, you're seeing some of the differences between the two of those. Only the pro version can do live streaming. And when you do have live streaming, you can have up to 2,000 minutes a month. And you can do as much as 3,000 images per month as well. Now, if you need more than that, you can get a recharge for mapping images as well as more live stream minutes as a recharge. DroneSense has a bunch of different options based upon what you're actually using for the aircraft. But to compare apples to apples with the Enterprise and specifically the Matrice line of drone, the cost is $3,600 a year, and that is just for one drone. So when you want to add extra drones, it's going to be extra money. And that pretty much is the most significant difference that you're going to see out of these two different plans. So for the aircraft compatibility, again, Flight Hub 2 is going to be limited to the latest DJI Enterprise drones, and DroneSense has a wide variety of different manufacturers that's compatible with. So another important consideration is which app you're going to be able to use. When we're talking about Flight Hub 2, we have total seamless integration into Pilot 2. So the drone pilot is going to be using the same app that they've been using, that they're familiar with, and that they've been trained on. Versus when we need to use DroneSense, we have to use their app. And that's another app that you're going to have to become familiar with and be trained on. Also, DroneSense does not have every feature and functionality built into it like Pilot 2 does. So there are certain situations where we may have to close the DroneSense app, open up Pilot 2, change an advanced setting, and then reopen the DroneSense app. Now that's an important consideration for you to be able to take into account into the workflow of what you're doing. The next comparison is called crew. What that essentially is how many aircraft we can use in the plan. With Flight Hub 2, there is no limitation to how many drones that we can put into a project. We can put 10, 15, 20 into a project. It's not going to have a limitation. The only limitation that you're going to have with Flight Hub 2 is the overall bandwidth of your connection point back at your central location. But having 2 to 3 drones is not a problem for the average person or application. For DroneSense, all of their base pricing is basically using one drone only. So if you want to add more drones, it's going to be an additional cost, and that is a big consideration for a lot of people. The last consideration that I want to talk about is what I call program management. That's really referring to the drone program itself. Managing the pilots as far as the number of hours that they have, their training program, their flight records, all that stuff is built into a drone program. Now, Flight Hub 2, I would recommend using a third-party application like AirData. Now, if we want to use DroneSense, that is a major strength of that application. That is a big part and component of what they do. So that is in part to why it does cost more. So that is the breakdown of what I consider to be the big things when I'm comparing these two different applications. Again, these are the two best options, in my opinion, worth considering. And if you have any questions, let us know. We are selling Flight Hub 2 as far as a monthly cost and a yearly product on our website. And like always, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button and the notification and like the video to be able to help our YouTube analytics. We very much appreciate that. So thanks again for watching. We'll talk to you soon.